For years businesses have rode on the vast interest bass fishing has generated. Many people are hooked, pardon the pun, on this hobby and have elevated it to a sport and a passion. Resorts, sports gears and lines have been built and many more aspects have benefited from these interests. Today, there are more and more people trying to learn and find out what the buzz is all about. Bass fishing is more than just catching a fish. It's now about getting those prized big bass and having the opportunity to show it off. For beginners, there are lots more to bass fishing that meets the eye. First, try to know the lures that you must have to enjoy bass fishing. And do you know what the top 3 lures for catching bass are? Although there was no particular gauge that was presented by the researchers, a survey was performed among the pro bass fishermen and it was found that plastic worms was the most patronized, and ranking on the 2nd and 3rd place were the spinnerbait and then the crankbait. However, picking one of these 3 is not enough. Some factors are still needed to be considered. Primarily, you must consider if it is better to cover a smaller segment of water thoroughly or skim across a larger area as quickly as possible to find fish. Using a worm is slower, but absolutely effective and is very seductive to bass. They do best when the fish are schooled over a particular structure. The problem that usually arises with fishing with a worm is the inability to sense strikes. Usually the inability to sense them is due to a sinker that is too heavy and a line that is too thick. To help you to overcome this predicament, you are advised to use a variable buoyancy worm using lead strip sinkers. Here are some of its advantages. No moving lead on the line to dampen the feel of a gentle pickup. You can apply the precise amount of lead to deliver the worm action needed. It makes it easier for a bass to inhale the worm. It aids in hook setting. It's easier to shake loose from snags. You can cause the worm to hang virtually suspended over the bottom when fishing shallow water. To tell how much lead strip is needed, wrap one strip around the hook and bury the barb in the worm. Ease it into the water and watch it sink. It should barely settle toward the bottom. If it sinks too fast, take some off, etc. Make sure to use no heavier than 8-pound monoline, preferably 6-pound. On the other hand, a spinnerbait can be moved more quickly across the surface and can be bounced on the bottom, sent against the tree limb and moved in many different ways in order to stimulate strikes. It is a great probing lure for the shoreline because of its angle-free construction. Lastly, crankbaits cover a lot of water in a hurry. Using them, you can check out the spot without wasting too much time. You can use them for locating fish that may be scattered. The most important thing is, no matter what lure you select for the particular lake that you are fishing on, you need to make it as easy for the bass to get at it as possible. Drop that lure right in front of them. Scientists have proven that bass calculate the amount of energy it will take them to go after the prey. Discover and learn to use one of those lures that you prefer to use for you to really find enjoyment in bass fishing. Aside from considering the lures, it is also important to determine the accurate time in going for bass fishing. Dawn and dusk are definitely when the biggest bass can be brought in. First, remember that bass love ambush spots offering lots of cover from the baitfish. They like to head and pounce on their prey. These baitfish are most active in the early morning or evening. When they feed, bass follow because the baitfish is less aware of threats when they feed. Go out fishing during these times for the best success. When retrieving an underwater lure in poor light, keep it coming at a steady pace once it is set in motion. This will make it easier for bass to locate and grab it. The last thing is, don't bother going out in the dawn/dusk when water is below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature wipes out certain aquatics and terrestrials, which nullifies the food chain feeding. Lures and proper time of going on bass fishing are ample factors only that must be taken into account because other aspects such as water quality considerations and weather conditions are also necessary for you to win the game on bass fishing.